There we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group. We're happy to have you this evening. Scotty Powell here, along with Frank Strait, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the severe weather threat that is possible over the Carolinas here starting tomorrow. Frank, looks like we're going to have a pretty stormy day coming up across both North and South Carolina tomorrow, where all modes of severe weather are possible, and that's anywhere between damage and wind threat, large hail threat, even the possibility of a few tornadoes. So, Frank, it looks like it could be a pretty busy day for the area.
Indeed, it looks as though the potential is there for an active severe weather day for us. This is headed our way ahead of a courtesy of an approaching cold front that's actually causing some severe weather out in Tennessee and farther south into parts of the lower Mississippi Valley right now. So we'll be watching that as it heads eastward tonight, but it looks as though our severe weather threat time is going to start tomorrow afternoon. In western North Carolina, probably the early afternoon hours, the southwestern quarter, North Carolina, but spreading eastward. Upstate South Carolina should get it by mid-afternoon, along with the rest of North Carolina, or western North Carolina, and then just kind of barrels east during the day, associated with a squall line pushing through. Looks as though the main concern is going to be for damaging winds, but as you said, all the modes are possible, some large hail and some tornadoes as well. So very active day coming up tomorrow for sure.
It is. So we're going to get to some of your questions here in just a little bit once I can figure out where where those questions are. I think I've got it. Here we go. There's the chat. So I can see those. So let's kind of look and see what's going on at the big picture wise. And as Frank was talking about, we do have a pretty big storm system up. So I'm going to pull up the College of DuPage go satellite here and kind of put the radar on there as well. And you can see, Frank, this upper level low really over the Central Plains right now. And yesterday kicked off, like you said, some tornadoes yesterday in Oklahoma. In fact, Seminole, Oklahoma, I think was within 3 tornadoes hit within the city boundaries there, one in the northern part, one in the southern part, and one actually through the city there, with a lot of flash flooding that took place this last night and this morning. Also some pretty significant tornadoes in northern Texas as well. And Frank, as you can see, that line is now pushing into Mississippi, Tennessee, but ahead of that is the warm front that's going to be moving in, and that could kick off a few showers tonight here locally. I'll pull this up. The warm front's going to be coming up into the Carolinas overnight, so we could see a few showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder in some locations, but really nothing that is going to be severe or anything like that tonight. But that threat comes tomorrow. So let's go over and look at those threats. As you can see here, the Storm Prediction Center updated this a little bit earlier today. All of North Carolina, except the Wilmington metro area, is under a slight risk, and that's a level 2 out of 5. And as you go into South Carolina, Frank, where you are there in Columbia, the upstate, also in that slight risk. The only places in South Carolina in that marginal risk level 1 would be those coastal areas from Myrtle Beach down to Charleston, down to Hilton Head. So, Frank, what is your main concerns tomorrow? I'm going to pull up the parameters here, the probabilities of tornado and hail and wind, and kind of talk to us about South Carolina and what you're expecting.
Okay, well, as I said, it looks as though the threat gets underway around mid-afternoon tomorrow in the upstate and heads east and southeastward across the state from there. The question right now is how exactly this is going to shake out a little bit to our west. We're going to see thunderstorms blow up over Georgia and Alabama and East Tennessee during the afternoon. Will they congeal into a solid squall line as it comes across, as I've been showing? Or will we see more in the way of discrete cells, as some of the more recent computer models have been showing? If it's the latter, then we're going to have more of a tornado threat. If it's the former, less of a tornado threat and less of a hail threat too, but more of a damaging wind threat and potentially a widespread one. So that is still an unanswered question at this point, is what the exact character is going to be. It looks as though there's going to be sufficient shear for tornadoes to occur. Plenty of instability because we've got a warm and increasingly humid air mass in place out ahead of it, as evidenced by the fact that it was in the 90s over a lot of South Carolina today. In fact, Beaufort got to, well, last I checked, 96. It might have been a degree or two even hotter than that, but the highest observation I saw was 96. And I forgot to go back and check to see what the high was. I'll look in a minute. But
That's
the fact of the matter,
hot.
it was hot.
Yeah.
And a lot of the low country, Beaufort might have been the exception for it to be that hot, but other spots were 91, 92, maybe 93. It was about 90 here in Columbia today, so it's hot. We've got some humidity. I felt that when I was out walking across the Dreher Shoals Dam, the Lake Murray Dam, this evening, and breaking a sweat doing it. So, yes, we have warmth, we have humidity. That humidity increases further tonight, and that's thunderstorm fuel. So, we have plenty of that instability to work with tomorrow with the sun out and temperature shooting up toward 90 again. So, we're going to get the thunderstorms. They're likely going to be severe in some areas. The only question at this point is how widespread the severe will be and what exactly the character will be. Will we see a bunch of tornadoes in South Carolina, or will we end up seeing widespread damaging straight line winds? The other question we have at this point is just how warm it will be. It looks as though that warm front you mentioned will be across much of South Carolina to start the day and generating some clouds and some showers. If that cloud and shower activity holds on long enough, that could maybe limit the instability a little bit by limiting the incoming sunshine. So that's another question to be answered at this point. If things work out as favorably as they possibly could for severe storms, then we may even see that outlook get upgraded a notch to enhanced because of all the potential that's there. But we're going to have to wait and see until tomorrow morning to see how much cloud cover we have and how long it's going to hang on.
Yeah, that's right, Frank. And for those folks, again, remember if we see these discrete cells pop up on radar, those are the ones that really have that tornado concern that we'll be watching for. Those are the ones that are kind of on their own. They're able to get all of that inflow, all of that energy that they need. If it's more of a line, it's going to be a damage and straight line wind threat. And remember, guys, wind is wind. So no matter if it's rotating or all blowing in a straight line, the wind can do damage. Case in point, yesterday in Mooresville, North Carolina, there was a microburst that occurred there, 70-mile-per-hour microburst down to a lot of trees in the downtown part of Mooresville. So again, wind is wind. So if it's blowing in a straight line or rotating, it can and will do damage if it's strong enough. So that is the threat. Frank, it looks like you have a SKU-T chart pulled up there. I can share that screen. You can talk.
Sure do.
What you're looking at.
This is from our good friend Levi Cowan's website, Tropical Tidbits. Let me actually get rid of SKU-T for a second so you can see the model plot. The 3-kilometer NAM model that we're looking at here, and soon we'll have the 0Z high-res rapid refresh to look at. But for now, looking at the 18Z 3-kilometer NAM, and this is the concern here. If this is looking a little bit more tornado-y, this is 20Z about 4 p.m. tomorrow. And this is right after the line has moved into South Carolina. As you can see, it's a broken line, broken nature to a certain extent, with maybe a discrete cell or two ahead of it in North Carolina too. The farther north you look, the more shear you'll have. The farther south you look, the more instability you have. And it looks as though the best combination of the two is going to be somewhere around the North Carolina-Virginia state line. Clicking on it and getting the sounding to pop up in that area, that's roughly around Kings Mountain that I clicked on. Check out the wind profile here on the right side of the SKU-T. We have roughly a southerly wind at as you get close to the surface, and then it gets gradually more westerly as you go up. That veering with height is favorable for a supercell to form. And this hodograph up here, the way it's curving here is also kind of favorable for supercells. Another thing I see looking at the parameters on the side here, and again, this is only looking at one point, but the surface to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity, a little over 100, just enough that you have to watch for tornadoes. Surface-based CAPE, almost 2,000. That's ample for severe weather. Mixed layer CAPE, 1,200 or so. That's ample for severe weather. Downdraft CAPE, 720. That I notice as well. The reason I'm really concerned about straight line winds, Looking at the sounding itself, notice the V shape close to the bottom. This inverted V, that is a known sign for potential downburst and damaging straight line winds. Reason being is because when you have a downdraft to form, you have a lot of moisture in that downdraft with the rain coming down, but it hits that dry air layer near the surface. And when it does, you get evaporational cooling. That cools the air that's sinking, causing it to become heavier, quote unquote, more dense, is the correct way to put it. So it sinks faster and accelerates as it gets close to the ground. And that's one of the ways that you get damaging winds to occur is you accelerate those downdrafts in that little layer of relatively dry air close to the surface.
That's right. So that is what we were looking at. And also, Frank was talking about that tornado potential in the warm front. We also need to watch that warm front as it moves into the northern North Carolina, like Virginia area. And the reason I'm going to do that, I'm going to pop up the SPC here. They have highlighted this particular area with a 5% chance of a tornado. Now, that is relatively, that's nothing to sneeze at, I guess. It's something that we need to keep an eye on as you go from Raleigh up to the Virginia border. And there's also this portion down here in southwestern North Carolina from Asheville back to the Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina line there. Those are the areas highlighted at a 5% chance for a tornado. And as you go into southern Alabama, central and southern Georgia, there's actually a 10% risk of tornado there. As we go to the damage and wind, you can see most of North Carolina and South Carolina in that 15% chance, which tells us that there's likely going to be some damage and thunderstorms with wind gusts anywhere in this area. So that's a majority of North and South Carolina. So do not be surprised tomorrow to see severe thunderstorm warnings with the potential of 60, 70-mile-per-hour wind gust. And as we go over to the hail parameters, also 15% chance for a good portion of North and South Carolina. Again, this is going to be quarter size and larger. So, a lot of storms this week have produced some hail in North Carolina. So, another day that we could see some larger hailstones, quarter size, upwards of that. So you need to be mindful of that. So again, we are currently under that slight risk, which is a level 2 of 5 until you get to the immediate coastline from Wilmington down through Myrtle Beach, Charleston, into Hilton Head, where there is a marginal risk 1 of 5. And as Frank was talking about, Frank, I guess I want to say a little bit after midnight is probably when this new update will come out. I can't remember the exact timing. I can't remember if it's 12:30 or 1:30, but right in that time frame, we'll have an updated SPC outlook. And there was some mention that we could see that enhanced risk grow into portions of the Carolinas. So we will watch that. Let's see. We got some questions here. Let's see. We have Brownie TV here wanting to know how PTI is looking. That is the Greensboro area. So we're under that slight risk of severe weather, that level 2. And again, that could see some damage and wind gusts, large hail, maybe even a potential tornado. As soon as I'm looking in the background, the HRR is almost through the run. So as soon as that gets all the way through, we'll show you the timing of that, the latest timing. It shouldn't take but a couple more minutes before we can get into that. So bear with us with the timing. Let's see. Will is talking about the significant tornado perimeter. Frank, you have that pulled up?
No, I don't. I could take a look at it. I was actually I saw the question about the Piedmont Triad area, so I went and looked at that from this afternoon's runs of the 3-kilometer dam, since I had that in front of me. There's your sounding for it as the warm front's moving through, which is right around daybreak tomorrow. Looks as though you're going to have thunderstorms in the area. There's some instability, but not a ton of it. Most of the instability is kind of aloft, but there will be some showers, thunderstorms around that area. That's going to be a sheared environment. Notice the helicity values high, including the low levels. So if we can get a good thunderstorm going, then yeah, it could take on supercell characteristics. There could be an isolated tornado with that warm front as it moves through. So that is definitely something we'll have to watch as we go along the North Carolina, Virginia line as that warm front moves through. And that's early tomorrow, it looks like, before that moves through. Then it kind of goes into Virginia in the afternoon. You see it that way, Scotty?
Yeah, I do. That is exactly. I was looking at. We're through 3 p.m. right now on the latest HRR, and it is showing exactly that right there around, morning. We could see that warm front move through. So I definitely agree with that. So we will get the STP. Will's asking about that. Let's let the HRR run its course here. It's only a few more hours, and we can kind of really get a good grasp of tomorrow. So we'll get back to that. Unfortunately, we picked the wrong time to do a Facebook. Hey, Carolina Weather Talk Live, as the newest model data is just now coming in. So just bear with us. We can get that timing here in just a second. Brownie TV asking another great question. Can severe storms fix the radar gap? We can only hope that eventually that radar gap will be fixed. But I don't see that happening, unfortunately, anytime within the next year or so. But we'll see. We'll see what that entails. So I appreciate you watching Brownie TV, and Will and everyone else, Matthew, who is commenting here on our Carolina Weather Talk. Frank, let's talk about while we wait for these the last few hours to come in with this run. Let's kind of talk about ways to get alerts tomorrow. I know you work along with the folks down there at South Carolina Emergency Management. So let's talk about that. How are some ways that our followers should be weather aware tomorrow to get these alerts?
Right. Well, step one, just about everybody has a cell phone and a smartphone. You could get apps that give you that will get alerts to you. You have built-in apps that can get you alerts. I recommend having at least one weather app installed on your phone from whichever trusted provider you prefer. Be it the Weather Channel, AccuWeather, any of those will also relay alerts to you. You have that turned on. Make sure you have your emergency alerts turned on so that you'll get those, and be sure you have the volume turned up. So, when I have a severe weather situation, I have it set to vibrate full blast and turn the volume all the way up, especially if it's something that's happening at night, which thankfully it looks like at least most of this event will be happening during daylight hours. So that's step one. Step two, if you got a weather radio, well, if you don't, you should get a weather radio. Have that turned on and set to alert when warnings come out. You can get those. Some of the nicer ones will allow you to program what county you're in and what part of the county you're in, so that the warnings only come out, or you only get alerted when a warning comes out for your area. So that's a good way to get some alerts as well. Don't rely on outdoor sirens. They're sort of a last resort thing. You need to have other systems in place, like those weather apps or a weather radio. Also, you stay tuned to your local media when watches and come out and warnings start to become issued in your metropolitan area or your neck of the woods, whichever the case may be. And that way, you have the latest information, because things go to TV stations and radio stations pretty quickly as well. What are some other ideas, Scotty? Scotty, where are you?
I should put
There you
myself
are.
back on. I should put myself back on screen. I know those are all great ideas. Making sure that you have that weather radio and it's programmed. We'll probably see some gusty winds tomorrow. So at some point, some folks may lose some power. So make sure you have those batteries in there. Make sure your phone's charged. Those are all good ideas as well. And just staying weather aware. Make sure that if you maybe watching Netflix or Hulu or something like that. And so with those streaming services, you don't get those immediate alerts to pop in. So you want to make sure that you have your phone nearby. So if you are under some sort of polygon, you'll be able to know what's going on in your area. I was pulling up some weather infographics, kind of where you should go tomorrow if and when there is some severe weather moving into your area. So let me see if I can find those graphics for you. I know I have them somewhere here. Here we go. Let me pull this up here on the screen here. And that way you guys can know where you need to go for this. And again, I'm not James, so James and Jared can run the show a lot better than I can. But we'll go with it here. Here's your tornado sheltering guidelines. Can you see that, Frank, I want to make sure it's up so everybody can
No, I'm
see.
not seeing it. Yeah, it's
Okay,
kind of tough. You're doing this for the first time and on your own. We don't have
I
James
am.
to help us out here.
That's
There
right.
you go.
There we go. There we go. I'm pushing buttons behind the scenes here. So here's our tornado sheltering guidelines, and you can actually put this severe weather sheltering guidelines as well. Your worst options are your mobile homes, vehicles underneath highway overpasses. Those are places you don't want to be. So tomorrow's a good day if you do live in a mobile home. Or something of that nature. Maybe you want to make contact with some family or friends who may have a site built home that is anchored down. Make sure you contact them and say, hey, there's some severe weather moving in this afternoon. Do you mind if I come hang out until the storms pass? So that's where we want you. So another option you don't really want to be in is manufacturing homes, like we talked about, or large open rooms like gymnasiums. I know these will be, unfortunately, some of these storms could be moving through as school is being dismissed. So, you know, I have seen before, you know, school systems say, hey, we're going to close a couple hours early to get kids home before the storms roll through. So we'll have to watch that. I actually heard through Weather Twitter, there was actually some places in Tennessee that were doing that. So we'll have to watch that. Best option is interior room of a well-constructed home or building or a basement, lowest level, most interior part of your home. And we don't have a lot of these here in the Carolinas, but if you do, a storm shelter or FEMA designated room safe spot is a good place to be. But if you do have a home with a basement, that's the best place to be as these storms roll through. And remember, you want to make sure that you have those supplies that you need. So a helmet is always a good idea. Some kind of sturdy shoes. So if there was unfortunately any debris or anything like that, you have some sturdy shoes so you're not walking on debris. It's always a good idea to have that helmet to keep your head protected, some sort of eye protection to keep your eyes protected from any flying debris, as well as long sleeves and pants. That way your legs and arms don't get all cut up. So also, if you have a pet, you want to make sure you have a pet crate there nearby your storm safe place. That way you can put them in there. So if there was unfortunately something to happen, you wouldn't be scurrying around through the damage trying to find your pet. So those are awesome ideas to have in store. So I think it looks like we're getting this HRR run in. So I'm going to share screen this and we can look at it here. Let me pull it up here. All right. So this is going to be, this is about 3 a.m. as Frank was talking about, as we get to the daylight hours there in the Piedmont Triad, Western North Carolina, a little bit of upstate South Carolina. Could see some showers of thunderstorms. Frank, this will be something here that we'll be watching because if we get these showers and thunderstorms that come through, does that kind of destabilize or stabilize the atmosphere? Do we have those clouds that hang on longer? If it stays cloudy after these storms come through, we may see the severe weather potential drop down a little bit. That's something all we'll have to watch. If you watch these shows, you know that you hear me say this a lot, and you're probably all going to be complaining, but it really becomes a nowcasting thing, and we watch the radar and see how the trends play out. So this is 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m. You can see a good portion of the Carolinas without any precipitation. Here's our lot of storms moving into eastern Tennessee. This is right at 11 a.m. And Frank, you know, this is a kind of like the future cast, but you can't take this verbatim. But if some of this comes true, some of these are some nasty cells moving here into eastern Tennessee.
Yes, indeed, they are nasty looking, and as you said, you can't take this model as being the gospel, so to speak. It's guidance instead. But that being said, the radar probably will look sort of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not exactly like that, but probably similar. So there will be those nasty thunderstorms around, and they likely will be some of them severe in nature. So there will likely be some dangerous weather occurring in East Tennessee at that time. The question is exactly what it will look like. Probably not exactly like that. That could be close.
That's right. So this is 1 o'clock. As you can see, our mountain communities in North Carolina and even the far upstate of South Carolina starting to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. Here's 3 a.m. And this is what Frank was talking about earlier. These are kind of like little individual cells. You got one here in the upstate of South Carolina, one crossing close to the Augusta area. You have one here moving through the foothills of North Carolina. Uh, these are the ones we'll have to watch. This would be the most concerning for any tornadic development because they're kind of on their own. They're not associated with this line of storms that you see the HRRR picking up on East Tennessee in East Tennessee. So here's 3 p.m. Here's 5 p.m. We're starting to see this now start to kind of get into a broken line, but again, any of these cells, this one near the Columbia area, this one near Rock Hill, these are the ones that we'll have to watch. This up here, Cohen, into the Raleigh area. We'll have to watch those as they could produce a quickly rotating thunderstorm that could produce a tornado or damaging wind or large hail. That's what we'll have to watch. This is unfortunately, Frank, at 5 p.m. As work is letting out and all that. So rush hour could be pretty messy across both North and South Carolina, from Columbia to Greenville, South Carolina, up to Charlotte, even to the Raleigh area.
Yes, that's the last thing that Malfunction Junction in Columbia needs is to have a severe thunderstorm moving through and they have all those people trying to get through there. It's bad enough when it's dry.
That's exactly right. This is 7 p.m. and you can see the one good thing about this, Frank, is at least the model is showing that these are quick moving storms. They're in and out pretty quickly. By 7 p.m., it's moving into the PD region and the Sandhills of North Carolina, and that's all that I have right now. So through 7 p.m., let me refresh this one more time, and we can see if we've got anything
there's
else.
A few more time steps available now.
All right, so here is 9 p.m. It's starting to move into the Charleston area, into the Grand Strand of Myrtle Beach, into eastern North Carolina. Here's 10 p.m. It's moving off the South Carolina coast and moving into eastern North Carolina. And it really looks like, Frank, it's really starting to weaken as it moves into the eastern part of South Carolina there along the coastline. And that's probably why there's that marginal threat there. It doesn't look as intimidating as it does back over central and upstate of South Carolina, as well as central and western North Carolina.
That's right. It looks as though the thunderstorms probably get to the coast late in the day. A couple of things will be going on there. There'll be a sea breeze boundary and sea breeze marine air moving into the coastal plain. That should limit the instability to a certain extent. On the other hand, it can locally increase the shear, so we'll have to keep an eye on where those thunderstorms enter. Right when they intersect the sea breeze front there, there's some potential for some local spin ups. Something you have to keep an eye on. But getting with the storms moving into that more stable marine air, that lowers your severe threat a little bit. And in the areas where that line of storms arrive after nightfall, you lost your daytime heating, so it's cooling off, and you're losing your instability. So the farther east they go, then the less intense they should be. They should lose some vigor as they head toward the coast.
So Will was asking about the significant tornado parameter. So we'll pull this up. This is 2 a.m. here in just a few hours. As this warm front kind of moves up, you can kind of see that leading edge of that warm front. This is into the morning hours. This is around lunchtime. And here's the afternoon. So you can see some of these STP numbers here in the upstate, pulsing up. I can't say that. Pulsing up a little bit as they move through the upstate into the foothills. Now, does this mean we're going to have a tornado in these places? No, but it's kind of showing you areas where the ingredients could be possible that we could see that. And you can really see up here, Frank, that area that was in that 5% area in northeastern North Carolina really kind of highlighted here with the STP values. This is going to be 9 p.m. as the front moves through and off the coast, and all of that is being pushed off. Let's go to the helicity tracks, and these are rotating thunderstorms, not necessarily tornadoes, but just kind of a depiction of where supercell may develop and kind of track through. You can kind of see here's that one in the upstate of South Carolina. You've got one down here that goes right through the Greenville-Spartanburg area, Rock Hill into Union County. um, up in this area just north of Raleigh. So these are kind of these rotation tracks where we could see these supercells develop and cause those severe thunderstorms. So that's a good chunk over a good portion of North and South Carolina. So we say all that to say this: tomorrow is one of those days where you need to remain weather aware and have those ways to be able to receive alerts and. If there's a warning issued at some point tomorrow, Frank, I'm sure we'll see a some sort of severe weather watch, either it be a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch issued for a good portion of the Carolinas. So just make sure you know uh, where you need to be at in case a warning is issued. We have Kevin watching on YouTube, and Kevin says, "Do you think that Greenville will see any tornadoes tomorrow?" So, Frank, South Carolina is your area, so I'll let you talk to
Well,
Kevin.
first, which one? Both North and
That's
South Carolina
true.
have a
That's
Greenville,
right.
so which one?
It's funny.
Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, well, you just showed the updraft helicity tracks, so and there were some going through the upstate. Again, that's something you take with caution. Uh, Realize that the primary thing you take from that is yes, there will be likely supercell rotating thunderstorms. Will they happen exactly where the updraft helicity tracks are on the model? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. But that will they be happening? Yeah, probably they will be. Kevin says Greenville, North Carolina. So let's take another look here. You got the warm front coming through during the morning, kind of the first part of the day with a shower or two over that way. Spotty shower. Looks like not a whole lot's happening. Then in the afternoon, a few little cells pop up here and there. Little discrete cells. Is there shear? Not really. Is there a lot of instability? Yes, there is. And that little inverted V showing up on the sounding. So any stray cell that pops up in the afternoon can be locally severe. Then the squall line shows up kind of after nightfall in that area, I guess, or nightfall at least. So it's late in the day, and you're getting the potential for locally damaging in with that, and enough shear, I suppose, that there could be an isolated tornado.
There we go. Jeff is asking about Gaffney, South Carolina.
Gaffney.
And there you go. The big peach.
That's right. The peachoid. Well, big in the upstate. Looks as though a couple showers around, maybe a thunderstorm pre-dawn from that warm front. And then most of the day is warm and muggy with sun popping out. Gets rather warm in the afternoon with some sun. And then those storms start to arrive. Looks like, if you believe the latest HRRR model, they're coming at you at about 4 p.m. That's fairly consistent with what the models have been showing. So sort of mid-afternoon that you get your severe weather potential in Gaffney with all three modes possible. Wind, hail, and tornadoes will all be concerns there.
Yeah. So be aware. So be aware tomorrow, weather aware. Stay weather aware tomorrow, and join us here on the Carolina Weather Group. I know we will be streaming our Carolina Weather Net tomorrow. That will be having some radar with it, so weather radio. If anything breaks out, we will try to break in with some coverage. I will say this: I do believe Jared Smith is planning to be on tomorrow at 5 p.m. as a majority of these storms start to roll through the area. I will actually be in Charlotte tomorrow, so I may try to chime in from time to time, let you know what's going on there. So we will be here to keep you covered. Make sure you're following us on our Facebook page, Carolina Weather Group, and on Twitter, Carolina WX, Carolina WX Group, I think is what it is. I've lost the handle here for Twitter. I'm a bad host.
Come on, man.
I'm a bad host. What is it? Carolina WX Group, I believe is what it is.
Yes, Carolina WX Group.
I had a brain lapse there for a second. So do that. Follow us on Twitter. If you can do it safely, we don't want you to go out in the middle of a storm with damaging winds or hail. But if you do see anything and you're in a safe position, let us know what you're seeing in your area. We'd love to see those pictures, and that way we can also pass those along to the local weather offices. That way they can kind of see what's going on, because with Frank in Columbia and us here in the Carolinas, we're all watching a computer screen and radar, and we're not really getting to see what's going on outside. So your pictures are definitely our eyes out in the field, and it really helps us kind of to really understand what's taking place in your area. So, Frank, any lasting closing thoughts before we log off here for the night?
Well, just to once again emphasize that you need to do your advanced planning. That's the key to survival in case you are one of the people that get hit tomorrow. So have the plan in place, know what your safe spot is, know what you need to do, what you need to have on hand, like in the event it's a tornado warning, you have that bike helmet in your safe spot, so you just pop it on. Have that. Your kennel for your pet ready to go, so you don't have to go searching for it when there's a tornado warning. It'll take long enough to find the pet, I'm sure. In my case, the cat's hiding under the bed anyway if there's thunder. So anyway, yeah, have all these things ready in advance because you may not get very much lead time when a tornado warning is issued. Typical tornado warning lead times are 7 or 8 minutes. That's not a lot, and that's typical. Sometimes you only get a minute or two before the time that that alert comes out and the time that the tornado hits you. So by all means, be ready to react and know what to do and react on that plan rather than have to make the plan because you may not have time to do that.
Tomorrow would be a great idea. I know a lot of us like to listen to podcasts, or we have our music app on our phone, or we have satellite radio. Tomorrow might be one of those days, especially in the afternoon, that you just want to pop on the local radio affiliate and listen to them as you are traveling down the road. Because if you're traveling, you may not know that you're under a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning. So make sure you have that local radio on. That way they can pass along information to you. Remember, if you are driving, to get off interstate, don't stop on interstate, don't clog up the interstates if it's hailing. Find a way, an exit and exit off interstate. Don't clog up the roads because that in itself is going to cause a wreck. So make sure you do that. And you're talking about your pets. That's one thing my dog, she's not really scared of thunder yet, so I'm happy with that. You know, she doesn't run away, but it is, in all honesty, have a way to get your pet gathered up pretty quickly tomorrow in case you were to be under a warning. So, Frank, we will close here. We appreciate you watching us here on the Carolina Weather Group. Let's talk Carolina weather. We are going to be watching for the potential severe weather on Friday, May the 6th. 2022, and just stay here with us and we'll keep you up to date with all the latest weather information. For Frank Strait, I'm Scotty Powell. We hope you have a great evening.